Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. Well, after a few rainy days, we've got some sunshine again, which means I can get back outside. Today I'm going to transplant some plants into my swale and hopefully mulch one of my productive trees. And tomorrow I hope to get back out into the garden and deal with some more paths. The plants that I'm going to transplant to my swale today are plants that do really well in their current locations. So I'm hoping that in the more hostile environment for plants, which is my swale and all the grasses that still are there, I'm hoping that these plants will sort of take hold and establish themselves. Now the first of those plants, which just look like black stalks at the moment, are the beautiful echinacea. What I've found with these is the seeds spread around and each season I seem to get more and more plants. Now they are perennial, and once you get them going, they do sort of come back to life again in spring. I don't know how long one particular plant would last, but I don't need to worry about that really because they just sort of spread new plants everywhere. So I seem to have plenty of these. Now in this section here, I've got quite a number of established root systems. So I'm going to dig up perhaps a couple of these to take up to my swales. So I'm just going to get in here and dig up a couple of these plants. Get this nasturtium out the way. And get them moved. That's one and two. Now I've taken quite a root ball with these plants because I want them to sort of establish themselves readily in my swale, and I think with that root system they should be able to do that. Now I've left some gaping holes here, but I can move some of the soil from where I dug out my path to fill those up. And I'll just cover that with a bit of compost and that should come back to life pretty well. Alright, that should do it. Alright, that's good to go now. Let's get on with the next plant. The next plant I'm going to grab is in this corner here, and it's mint. Now the mint hasn't taken over here because it does get fairly dry in summer, which kind of knocks it back a bit. But I want to get some mint going so that it does flourish and I can harvest heaps when I want it. And I thought I might pot up one just to nurture in a pot near the house. And I thought maybe I'll transfer some to the swale where hopefully it'll just take off and I'll have heaps when I want it. So you can see it's just starting to come back to life a little bit, and there's various spots where we could dig it up and there'd be plenty of roots to pot up or transplant. So I'm just going to tackle perhaps this one here for the plant that I'm going to transplant, and I'll grab something a bit smaller for my pot. Needs a bit of weeding in here too. Actually, I reckon this one here will be good for the pot. Oh, and there's another plant there that might be good to grab. All right. Well, that was easy enough. This little one here should pot up pretty easily. And I think that's got enough roots on it that should be okay out in the swale. Although maybe I'll just take another plant and we'll kind of get two going. Oh yeah, that's a good one to transplant to my swale. And before the roots dry out, I'll just pop it in this little pot and we'll nurture that one near the house. Now this is just my decomposed wood chip pile. That seems like a really great potting medium. There we are. Now I'll just cover up those roots so that they don't dry out before we get it planted. I've whacked my echinacea in my cart as well, but it looks like we might be transplanting some nasturtium to the swale. It'd be lovely for that to take over as well. Now, as for these root balls, I think they'll be right just like that. They shouldn't dry out because there's still plenty of soil on the roots there. We don't need to cover them. The next plant that I'm going to transfer to the swale is one that we've seen in a recent video, and it's my soap aloe, Aloe maculata. Now, it's gone crazy in my rock wall garden, and I don't want it to go crazy here, but I'd love for it to go crazy out in my swale. I kind of think it will be more challenged out there, so it'll be interesting to see if it can get going. But we'll try and dig this one plant up here. And that's got a pretty good root system on it, so that one should transplant okay. While we're here, we might get these ones out of the wall, and I'll pot up some of these and maintain them as potted plants. Cute little plants. It's one that's got some nice roots on it. It's another one that would pot up well. Those plants are out of this area now. I'm just going to do one little bit of the garden at a time. But this plant seems like it's got the best root system on it, so I'll pot that one up. And once again, I'm just potting that one in the wood chip. So hopefully it'll stay happy and contained in the pot. And I can just kind of pull it up from time to time and pull off any of those little pups. I'm here on my top swale near 2 rhubarb plants that I planted maybe 2020 and some black currant plants which do quite well in summer. They sort of get late afternoon sun here. But in summer, the rhubarb really dries out and it kind of struggles, but it kicks back into life at this time of year in winter. So I thought maybe for my aloe plant, this might be a great spot because it isn't constantly wet. Maybe just in the middle there. We'll see how it goes. It certainly doesn't get saturated from this swale. So I think along this swale, this might be the best place for it. Now, if I just kind of dig in here, it'll still give me access to my black currant plants for harvesting any black currants. I'll just pull this plant off here. Sorry, I've distracted myself. And it'll still give me access to my rhubarb sufficiently, although I've got plenty of rhubarb everywhere else. I don't really need these plants. And that soil is pretty good. I think I've just cut through some of the roots from my currant plant, but that should be okay. There's plenty of worms in here. I always hate disturbing all these guys, but it's hard to avoid if you're adding in plants. Right. Just stick it in there, cover it all over, and hopefully it will take off. Rightio. Now I'm just going to mulch it with some of the grasses that I pulled out of here. And some pulled out next to it. And we'll see how it goes. And further along the swale is where I'm going to find homes for my echinacea and my mint. Fairly recently, I cleared the Tagersastia from here and I planted this sad looking orange tree. It was originally planted in my kitchen garden. It never took off. So I dug it up, kept it in a pot, but didn't really keep it watered enough. And it really is only just hanging on, but it's been probably about 4 weeks in the ground now, and I can already see little shoots coming and little flowers. So it's a good sign that it might have decided it's pretty happy right here. So who knows, one day we might be getting oranges from this tree. Now, because we had the Tagasasti here and also an acacia that I chopped down as well, the ground had been fairly shaded, so it didn't have much in the way of grasses, and it's also had plenty of woody mulch on it for a while. So the area here is quite clear. There's just a few grasses to clear, but I thought maybe if I put it in this space, it'll give a chance to the echinacea and the mint to get going with all that, without all the grass sort of impacting it. So I've just cleared some of these woody bits so we can get in and put these plants in. All right, that's a nice cleared area that we can get our plants into. I need a pretty substantial hole for one of my echinaceas. All right, let's see if we can get it in here. All right, I reckon that's perfect. Let's just fill that in. Now, I don't anticipate that nasturtium's going to survive for long. When the cold weather really comes, that'll be knocked out. All right, I reckon that's one in. Now let's get the second in. Now this plant's root system isn't as big. Okay, there's the second one in. And that leaves plenty of space in front for the mint plants. Good luck, plants. I'll get a bit of water onto that one. It looks like it's in need. All right, hopefully that's enough for it. Now I did add the decomposed wood chip mulch to that plant as well, but I'm going to add some more mulch just so that this soil doesn't dry out. And I've got quite a bit of grass around this peach tree, which I can grab. And on top of the grasses, I'll just add some chopped up acacia branches because I've got plenty of those. And hopefully by spring, we'll see some movement with my echinacea, and maybe my mint will start taking off as well. With the planting done now, I can turn my attention to this peach tree here. It's the one where I gathered the grasses from beneath. And I thought while I'm here, I might get some mulch around it. First up, I'll collect some manure and get that around it. Then I'll add some acacia mulch. Good morning. I'm back in the garden today because I'm going to get another one of these paths completed. Just up the hill here next to my onions is the one we're going to tackle. Now, it was fantastic timing for this path because over the last week we've had about nearly 100 mil of rain, and you kind of can really feel it as you walk along. It's kind of a bit squishy, and I think all of that rain has helped to settle this path in beautifully. One thing I did find challenging when building this path was, after exhausting myself in digging it all out, I then went to collect all the materials to fill it. So today I've already been out. I've collected 3 buckets of manure from the pasture. I've chopped some tea tree that's been a problem, and I've gathered up some decomposed wood logs that I'm going to put at the bottom of my path. And finally, I've done some trimming in my back garden, which is full of capeweed at the moment, which is kind of what I've got on these garden beds here. So I, again, am using a problem to be a solution somewhere else. So I've gathered all of that stuff. So I'm ready to go to get this path dug out. When I first built the garden, as I think I've explained before, I had all of these paths on contour, all lined up, but over time things have kind of gone astray. Now this path here should ideally line up with this and go straight through there, but I've planted some onions here, so I'm not going to get rid of those. So as I dig out this path, I'm just going to go in between these onions and this leek. This leek is a nice thick leek and it's starting to form flowers. What I want to do is save seeds from these plants. So I'm going to let them flower, but keep an eye out on the other areas of the garden and just trim off any leek flowers that there are, so that these hopefully will grow seeds that grow true. So most of this dig will be fairly straightforward. There's a few parsnips that will have to go, and a couple of, this carrot might have to go too, but we'll kind of shoot it right through to the end there. So the steps are similar to my video that I will leave a link to in the description. If you haven't seen me building this compost path here, I go into quite a bit of detail with that one, so I'm not going to do that again today. I'm going to start with weeding. Weeding is done. And next I'm just going to scrape off the top of this path onto the adjacent garden beds. I've dug out the top layer of good soil. It's sort of quite full of organic material, so not to be wasted. I've put it on the adjacent garden beds, making sure not to cover up my plants. And I have done the same sort of carefully around these onion plants. So I think I'm good to go to dig this deeper now. So I'm just going sort of as deep as I did with that last path. I'm getting this sort of more clay soil shipped out. And I'm just piling up this soil here for my project, which will be in the backyard at a future date. Well, I've got about halfway with our path project for the day, and I'm not going to pretend it's easy. It is hard work, so I'm just going to have a break for the moment, have a bite of lunch, and come back for the rest. So for lunch today, I'm going to make the most of this cauliflower and make some Indian pakoras. Now, along with this beauty, I'm just going to grab some of my green onions and maybe a jalapeno pepper and make the Indian pakoras. That'll clean up okay and give me plenty to use for my lunch. And I'll just need a small jalapeno pepper, and I think we're good to go. To make the pakoras, I chop up all the veggies and then make a batter with beef flour, plain flour, cumin, coriander, salt, turmeric, and mix it up with water. I then stir in the vegetables and then cook in tallow until it's ready, and they are very nice. Back after a very nice lunch, we've got the neighbour mowing, and we're kind of in shadows over here. So it's a bit hard to film, but I'm just going to finish the rest of this path and then we can start filling it up again. With my trench all dug out now, I can start to fill it with some of the stuff that I've already grabbed, starting with the logs. Then some tea tree trimmings. Then some manure. Now I'll add my green stuff. And just enough. And now the fun part, we'll get the wood chips on. Another path done. This path, just like the other path that we've already done, will need top-ups as the contents settle. This one was hammered with rain recently. It's only settled a little bit, but it could do with a little bit of a top-up. But I'll be doing that sort of every now and again. But for the moment, I'm really happy to have got this done today.